All right, UXers. This is the second lecture in your first module. This is where we're going to actually dive into a specific method. We're going to talk about usability testing. Um, we got two things here for you in this module. One is a web page that gives you an overview of some of the key elements. The second is a nice demonstration video of a condensed, just 20-minute kind of usability testing that identifies some issues and proposes some specific solutions. And then we've got here the key points, questions, key points, what I would call like reading questions or listening questions. These are the kinds of things you should be able to walk away with and do on a quiz or a test. Also have an additional resource here, a longer thing from Google on an example of usability testing. They're working here, I think it was with an email task they're asking people to do. Okay, so let's dive into this, your reading on this. Okay, and again, I'm pulling from the N group. This is the usability 101. So I want you to read this over. And so one thing you should be able to identify, what do we use the usability test for? It's uncovering problems, looking for opportunities, learning more about users. It's these three core elements of usability testing. There's a facilitator here that's directly involved in interacting with the participant. You'll note this is a little different than most psych research, where we try to keep the researcher away from the participant or only interact in a very interactive way. But given the goals of UX are different than like the kind of psych research you'd publish in a journal, you're having the facilitator interact with the participant in a way to kind of pull more information out of them. But we'll watch this as you go through the video. There's also a danger of kind of leading the witness, so to speak, suggesting information to the user might not otherwise have. So there's some skill it takes to do this and some practice that's required. Here it's trying to show you that the facilitator is observing the interviewer, so there's feedback loops, information. It's kind of like a collaboration between the two as they work through this task or set of tasks. It's going to define these different roles. It gives you some examples here of usability studies. Here it's showing you just what the setup would look like. You've got the participant working on the laptop. The facilitator has their own laptop. You've got maybe an external monitor that other people can watch, but you're recording what's going on here as the participants engages in the laptop. And then at some point, they're going to try to fix all the holes in these chairs because that's kind of distracting. Okay, and then we've got basic breakdown here in different types of usability testing. Generally, we would think about it as qualitative, but here it's she's describing how it can have a quantitative focus too if there's certain benchmarks that you're trying to see if they hit. There's remote versus in-person testing. That's pretty obvious, but the big difference here is whether or not it's moderated, whether or not the facilitator is interacting with the participant in real time. That's a key distinction. Some cost stuff I'm less worried about you getting, and then the resources, some additional stuff. And obviously some of what they're doing here is their marketing training that you would pay for, but a lot of this is free. There's a lot of good free stuff, so don't hesitate to look at this. They have a bunch of these videos where they have somebody talking against a colored background. The moment I'm skipping those. Okay, so that is the kind of the textbooky stuff for you. And then I found this nice example by Steve Krug. He has several books out that are highly regarded on UX design. And this is a little video he's walking through. So remember, I give you those reading questions, specific things I want you to pull out. So you can kind of sample through this. Like, you don't need to listen to every last minute of it, though I think it's really helpful. But a few things to note. I want you to notice how he's interacting with the user, kind of his tone and just the style, but there's kind of an art to doing this. And remember, he's somebody that has done a lot of this. One thing I'll just note about his style and his message, one of his basic things across a number of his products is he's saying, look, don't make this so complicated that it's impossible to do a usability study. He'd rather have you get in, get some data, make some little tweaks. So he's very pragmatic and much more focused on getting it done than setting up a perfect study with 300 subjects and a 2-week protocol and all that kind of stuff. So he makes it very approachable, I think. He has a user work through this idea of a website, Zipcar, where you can rent a car on a short-term basis. So this would kind of be like there's these cars that get located around a city, and you could rent one just for a few number of days or hours. So it's a kind of a different rental model than you would find with like renting through Hertz or something like that. Okay, and so the main thing I want you to do is pay attention to, there's the kind of tasks that the user is given. So one is just, can they figure out what it's going to cost given a certain usage plan? You'll see he identifies certain errors or certain problems, like this is confusing here, this rate shown for EVP at $50. So I want you to be able to identify the 3 main problems that this usability study identifies, and then the 3 key solutions that he works through. And just this is about 10 years old, so you might look at the user and some of the things she does and go, gosh, how does she not understand that? So 2 things. 1, it's a little dated, so people have had more experience with the internet. But 2, remember, a key element of this is we're not going to blame the user. If the user is making errors, that's great, because it helps you identify something in the design that probably can be tweaked. So a huge, like a philosophical focus of this approach is, if the user's make a mistake, we do not jump to the conclusion that they're an idiot. We say, oh, that's good. Here's something that other people are likely to have problems with. Okay, and then at the end, he's reviewing here what the user didn't understand, and then some specific things that you can do to some specific changes. And so you'll see, like, one of them was she didn't realize that the rates that were given were just minimums. And so they had this from language that was on the left-hand side. He shifts it to the right, and it just makes it a lot easier for the user to see. So we're going to talk about this in terms of design principles based on psychology, but proximity is a big thing. If you want somebody to notice something, you got to put it right next to it, and then that changes it. So he has some other little tweaks that he recommends. All right. So I'll say it one last time, but remember, as you're going through this, I try to give you these detailed reading questions about what you're responsible for. So if you're focused on those, there's some other details and whatnot that you can let go by you, but make sure you can answer those reading questions and you master that specific content as you're going through this stuff. Okay. And in the spirit of UX stuff, if there's some parts of this setup that I have for you, these videos or my voice or the way I'm explaining things, anything that you think could be better, please email me and make a suggestion. I would love to make these as useful as possible. Okay, so I hope you enjoy your adventure into the realm of usability testing, a key method in UX research. Thank you.